Welcome to episode 59 of the Gambots podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and this is my co-host.
It's Christian.
On this week's episode, Christian and I both watched The Mandalorian Season 1. Christian watched the Oscar-nominated Little Women. And finally, we will be talking a little bit about the Oscar nominations and if we think there were any snubs. But first, Christian, you and I both finished The Mandalorian. What did you think of it?
I liked it. I liked it a fair amount more than I thought I would.
Yeah, same. I did not go into this one thinking I would like it very much. I was very against Disney Plus when it was announced. I don't like all the TV shows they're trying to make you now watch to get into the movie, so I was happy that this was standalone, and going into it was not excited, but after it, I would watch a season 2. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think we're going to get into spoilers here on this one because it's hard to talk about it without spoiling it, and also it's been out for a while, so I think most people who want to see it have seen it. Let's start out early. I think that this series is basically separated into two parts. It's all the parts involving Baby Yoda and him being tracked, and then 2 other episodes. Or 3 other episodes, I guess.
Yeah, there definitely is like a main arc, but then you've got some standalones in there to kind of like add some variety.
Yeah, and what really hooked me about this from episode 1 into 2 is this did feel like a Western. You know, like Star Wars was originally supposed to be sort of a space Western to some extent. And like with the music they had in this, like I was definitely getting major vibes of For a Fistful of Dollars or A Few Dollars More, or, you know, the Clint Eastwood spaghetti Western trilogy with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, with him just coming in, doing a job, and then leaving. And the music itself was just spot on for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that was the goal here, was to make a kind of space Western.
Yeah, which is funny because, you know, I think episode 1 might have been my favorite of the episodes, and it's kind of downhill from there. But like episodes 1, 2, and 3 more or less go together, and then episodes 7 and 8 tie back to 1, 2, and 3, and then the 4th, 5th, and 6th episodes were just standalone, like him just living his life. And I think definitely me and you, I think, both agree on this. Episode 5, where they go to Tatooine, was by far the weakest of the season.
Yeah, I agree. That was it. You know, it just felt like it didn't belong.
Yeah, so let's go through each episode. What did you like about episode 1?
I like the rancher guy. I like that we came back to him a couple times. He was kind of this just wild little dude with his like 2-legged slug monsters.
Oh man, they look like piranha with feet to me.
Yeah, like oh yeah, they were bizarre. But I liked him. I thought he was an interesting, like, 3-dimensional character, which was good because usually when you have these little like side characters, they're not very fleshed out, but he was.
Yeah, and I think the kill robot was in episode 1, right? It's a little hazy if it was 1 or 2. I liked him, and it was funny to see him come back later in a different role.
Yeah, and the end of episode 1 really kind of establishes our main character as having like a more complex moral compass than you would like a Boba Fett, right? He was just like, I'm gonna do what I got paid to do, end of story. And this guy's like, this is a baby, and like kind of throws the playbook out when he realizes what's actually going on.
Right, and that's why I actually think The Mandalorian is essentially, it's Boba Fett if Boba Fett had ever done anything in the series of Star Wars. To be fair, I think him as a child does stuff in Clone Wars, but I didn't watch those. So we're going for mainline movies, and Boba Fett was like a huge disappointment. He just looked cool. Like, The Mandalorian is actually awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm with you. I think my favorite part of episode 1, and I think episode 1's probably my favorite, was, like I said earlier, it really felt like a Western. Going into episode 2, did you like this one?
It was fine, I guess. Like they chase some Jawas. He fights a woolly rhinoceros. Baby Yoda gets to use the Force for the first time, but like it just kind of felt filler. Like the entire sequence about him chasing Jawas, it kind of led nowhere. Like at the end, he just got his ship parts back and took off, and like nothing in that sequence really seemed to be of any consequence.
So there's two things I want to say about the Jawas. One, I think is more funny. Are Jawas just like a disease that infests a planet because they're on Tatooine and then they're just randomly on this planet? Like this planet has Jawas, stay away.
Yeah.
And then on the other one, like I agree, it was kind of filler, but I did like that we saw the Mandalorian try and scale this thing and fail, because normally when you watch Star Wars stuff, you just see that like the Jedi do these amazing things, and even if he is a good bounty hunter, it shows that he has limits. Like he's just one guy; he can't withstand all the toasters that were being thrown on him.
Yeah, it's true, and like you do kind of see the might of like the Jawas in numbers, like. They're just these little goblins, but when there's like 600 of them, there's still not much you can do.
My favorite part of this episode was at the end when they get the egg and the Jawas like crack it open, and it's essentially just like drugs to them. Like they're just bathing in it and they're all going crazy. That was the weirdest part of the entire series, I think.
Yeah, so this episode was fine. Like I didn't really have any problems with it. It didn't really stick with me.
Okay, so moving on to episode 3. What did you enjoy this one?
Oh yeah, the like cleaning house at the stormtrooper like locale. It was great. He really like you finally got to see like real, actual combat as opposed to just like a quick shootout at the OK Corral or something. Like he went into that compound and he went ham on them.
Right. This is, I think, other than the last episode, the most action-packed episode, just because of well, maybe episode 4 has more, but just the big battle at the end of the bounty hunters versus the Mandalorians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys do they not all wear Beskar armor? Because I thought that they did, but maybe that's not the case, because I don't see how they end up losing in the later episodes.
Yeah, it seems like you have to earn it, because like he doesn't have Beskar armor at the beginning. They like once he delivers all that metal to them, then that's when she makes him like a full suit.
Yeah, but some of them have jetpacks. Also, after that, you think they would have ran, and they just like stayed there.
Well, that seemed like that's what they were gonna do, because he says something to them like, "You've revealed yourselves, you'll have to leave," and they're like, "That's fine, we'll find a new place," and then they just, I guess, don't.
Right. So,
or maybe they don't get a chance.
As much as I like this, I think there are some parts that don't make a ton of sense, and I think it starts getting more glaring towards the later episodes.
Yeah.
So I did like this episode though, because, like you said, like the Mandalorians. He's a more complex character than I think we're used to in the Star Wars universe, and at this point you're sort of unsure if Baby Yoda is going to be the focus or not. Like you think it will, kind of like like I was getting vibes of like a samurai with a kid going around the countryside, protecting him.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if they're going in that direction or not, so it was nice to see them actually go in that direction and pay like homage to the roots of the Westerns, and then also further back, like the Japanese films, a lot of those were based off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the villain in this. I mean, I guess he's not ultimately like the final villain, but like the guy that you meet and you assume he's going to be the big bad was just like an ex-Imperial officer, and he looked, I swear to God, I thought it was Jeffrey Rush. Yeah. But when he spoke, he sounded like Christoph Waltz, and then I just really wanted it to be Christoph Waltz because I thought he would be amazing.
I can't remember who it was. It was someone I've heard of before. Do you remember who it was? I got it right here. It's Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I liked him. I actually wish they would have chosen him as the ultimate bad guy instead of who they. Well, who they end up going with is good. It's Gus from Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good actor. It's just I did like Werner Herzog being like this weird, creepy dude. Okay, so moving into episode 4, I think this is one you're going to speak highly of. What did you think of this one?
Oh yeah, this is the best episode in the series to me, for sure. Like by a mile.
Why is that?
I mean, you had brought up westerns. This is a very Seven Samurai episode, which was later adapted as to the Magnificent Seven, and I mean it's been adapted into so many other Seven Samurai Magnificent Sevens.
Star Wars itself, not Seven Samurai, but Star Wars itself is somewhat based off of another Akira Kurosawa movie, The Hidden Fortress, which is, all of those things have very similar features. So it's all very incestuous here a little bit.
Yeah, like this, I love the Magnificent Seven, like the original, and that's just what this was to me. Like, oh, it's a little fishing village, and they're being plagued by bandits, and the Mandalorian and Cara Dune have to roll into town and save them from the bandits and like train them to be fighters. It was great. Like this, I watched episodes 1, 2, and 3 in one go, and it didn't like grip me. And then I watched episode 4, and I was like 100% in, and I was so excited to watch the rest of the series. And like it was still good, but I felt like it was all downhill from episode 4.
So what I really liked about episode 4 was you actually got to see the havoc a single ATSD can wreak on just troops that don't really have heavy artillery. Mm-hmm. Because in the movies you see them fighting like the snow fighters. I forget the name on Hoth, or you see or you see them getting cartoonishly like their head smashed in by 2 logs in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So they pretty much just seem like useless machines, but then they actually are like, oh no, those things are really dangerous.
Yeah.
So I like seeing that in action.
They make a comment about how like there's nothing on the planet that they're on right now that can penetrate the armor, or that can take down the legs or something. I was like, ooh, yeah, these are maybe more formidable than they've been made out to be in the past.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I was thinking the whole time while that was going on, though, was like, dude, a race of Ewok bears took down multiples of these with, like, some vines. Like, yeah. You guys could do something.
But yeah, I really like the Seven Samurai vibe that this one. I love Cara Dune. I was super happy that she came back later. I was gonna be real disappointed if they just used her as a one-off.
So what I did like about the show too, speaking of Cara Dune, was them introducing a couple characters who you're kind of like, yeah, I think they're going to come back later. So I did like that where, like, even though it's a short series, by episode 7, it's just we're getting the band back together type episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on to episode 5. This is, I think, the weakest episode of the season. Did you like this one?
Yeah, it was fine. I agree. I do think it's the weakest of the season. Like, it was very predictable.
Yeah. I number one, it seemed like it was very fan servicey for him to go to Tatooine and then go to Mos Eisley. Like, just get some new planets. We don't need to keep going back to that planet. I mean, it's been in every trilogy at this point.
Yeah.
And so I did not like that. It was cool seeing the speeder bikes, but the story seemed completely inconsequential to me.
Yeah, again, it seemed like, I mean, they introduced Cara Dune in 4, but like 4 is mostly filler too, but it was just so fun for me. But 5 just wasn't really that fun. Like you said, like it seems fan servicey. Like they were like, oh, we gotta cash in on like at least a little bit of nostalgia. Send him to Tatooine, make him have an adventure.
Right. The most interesting thing I saw in the episode was, I'm pretty sure the droids when he landed in Mos Eisley were the pod racer droids, yep. Which I don't think have appeared past episode 1 in anything.
Yeah, I think you're right. They were the pit droids.
Right. Like, pod racing was never talked about again, so at least they're somewhat acknowledging that actually was a thing. All right, moving on to episode 6, and as a standalone episode, this actually might have been one of my favorite ones. I really liked that this one essentially went from a heist to making the Mandalorian the Predator.
Oh yeah, it was pretty cool.
Like the one shot where he's hunting the one guy with the robot arms for guns, where it's just blinking light off, like dark, light, dark, light, dark. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, this was a fun episode. It like I like them introducing like the rogues gallery of people, like like this universe is like scummier than it's been made out to be in the past. The closest we got to seeing that, I think, was in Attack of the Clones, where Anakin gets offered to buy drugs by a character named Elan Sleazebagano. And I feel,
did he really?
I think they were called Death Sticks, and his name is never mentioned in the movie, but it's definitely canon as his name was Elan Sleazebagano. It's in one of like the novelizations or something. But like it seems like he would have hung out with this group of people.
Yeah. In this episode though, I could not stand the Twi'leks, and also Twi'lek like males look really weird in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the costume or what. Like the dude they had that they're rescuing from prison, it just looked like bad makeup or a bad mask or something to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was something was a little off.
But overall, like I said, this might have been one of my favorite standalones. I also like that they, for the whole series, they emphasize the Mandalorian hates droids for some reason. I think to build tension for episodes 7 and 8. But they never explain why he hates droids.
Didn't droids kill his family or something?
Well, you're right. It was during the Clone Wars, so maybe that's why he hates droids. But yeah, okay. Well, you just answered my question.
Right. Yeah, I was pretty sure there was the super battle droids that had like the full body silver armor and stuff.
Yeah,
and then the Mandalorians
they have the wrist
and,
cannons.
Yeah.
Okay, well that makes more sense then. So he got to kill a lot of droids.
Oh yeah, it was very satisfying. Like that entire episode was satisfying. Like even how he handled the like the various people that he was trapped there with.
Yeah, I love the ending when he just, I was like, oh, they're going to get the jump on him. It's like, no. And then the Republic bombers come out and just blow up the space station.
And I did think that he was going to have some kind of an issue. And I mean, I guess he would have if the X-Wings hadn't shown up. But he got off that ship and the guy in charge is like, where's the rest of my team? And he's like, you said no questions, right? And the guy's like, yeah, I did say no questions. And like that's kind of the end of it. And I was like, oh, okay, these people really suck.
Yeah. All right, and then finally, I think we can talk about episodes 7 and 8 because they're so closely entwined. I think they should be one episode. Did you like how the season 1 ended?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I said, if 4 hadn't been like so up there for me, these probably would have been my favorite episodes. They were very, very fun.
Yeah, this really was like we're getting the band back together to go fight the bad guys because they had Cara Dune, they had Jin, I cannot remember the guy from the first episode's name, like the dog face guy, and then Carl Weathers even joined the team for this.
Carl Weathers, of all the people, they could have just like pulled out of the ether to come do a Star Wars movie, but it works so well.
Oh, he was great in this series.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it until the first episode, and I saw his name in the preview or in the opening credits, and I was like, absolutely not, because the only thing that I can really like put a face to Carl Weathers was the episodes of Arrested Development he was in, where he just cons Tobias into giving him a bunch of money to teach him acting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess if that's your only... He's Apollo Creed in Rocky, so that's what I think of him as.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I forgot he was in Arrested Development. I think I liked episode 7 better than 8. I think 8 started verging into fan service again, starting off with the assassin droid coming in and just taking out a fourth of the stormtroopers in that place. And like H just left so many questions. Number one, like, so they killed all the Mandalorians, but this one lady, but she's still running a forge somehow down there. And then there were only like 16 stormtroopers left for the battle droid to blow up and kill. I don't know, just a lot of stuff at the end that I did not. I really liked episode 7 and I was hyped for episode 8, and then I was a little bit disappointed by 8.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they had to leave. Yeah, I mean, they had to write their way out of it some way or another, and they had to leave some stuff unanswered so that you would be ready for season 2.
I wish also that, I get why they do it, but I wish they wanted to show the Mandalorian's face. I wish they would have cut to black for him to let the droid heal him instead of us seeing what the Mandalorian looked like.
I'm kind of with you. I was really hoping that at some point this season he would take his mask off.
Yeah.
And I did like the way they worked around it. I thought that was clever.
Yeah. I did think him getting the jetpack was cool though at the end. That was awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
And him not being like super proficient.
I was gonna say I also like that. It's like you said about episode 2 where he's not good at everything. He puts that jetpack on, and even the lady was like, "It's gonna take you a long time to learn how to use this." He's like, "Yeah, I know." He puts the jetpack on. He's like, "I got this," and then is not good at it at all.
One of my favorite lines from this season is episode 3 where he's flying and he sees the jetpack. He's just like, "Man, I gotta get one of those." Such foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So overall, would you recommend our audience check out season 1 of this?
Yeah, I would. I got charged for Disney Plus like yesterday, and I was gonna cancel it today, so I've got it for another month. But I don't think that this show was good enough that it makes me say, "Oh man, I should go check out all these other Disney Plus originals." But it's definitely good enough that I will resubscribe when the second season comes out.
So I'm torn on this. I like this. I'm not paying for Disney Plus. I'm using a friend, so it was totally worth it for me. But I don't know if I would pay just to watch this. After seeing it though, I am more intrigued about a couple of the Marvel properties, specifically if they're still doing Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Because this was a lot better than I thought it would be. And I am going to say this again. I think it's the third time I've said it after we've talked about Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, Rise of the Skywalker, and now this. I like the side stuff in Star Wars way more than I think I like the movies.
Yeah, so you bring that up, and you just brought up the Marvel stuff too. This felt like going to watch like Daredevil and the Defenders after watching nothing but Avengers movies for a long time, because there's a lot of good like universe building stuff, but it's all like street level, ground level stuff. It's not like universe ending Death Star drama. It's just like, this is the stuff that these people deal with day to day.
Right. And I find that more interesting because the movies seem to just rehash the same storylines.
Yeah, this was something fresh, and I really appreciated that. I thought the casting was great. I loved Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian. I thought Gina Carano was great as Cara Dune. I already talked about how crazy Carl Weathers was. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed like a fresh perspective on this universe or galaxy.
Before we move on, what did you think of the Darksaber at the end?
It was cool. I never watched Clone Wars, but I'd seen like stills of what the Darksaber looked like, and I've always thought it was pretty neat. I think you can get a Darksaber in the Force Unleashed games. It was interesting. I felt a little bit like I felt when they showed Darth Maul at the end of Solo. So, I mean, spoilers for Solo, I guess.
It's like 4 years
or
2 years.
Yeah, you never know. I've got a couple friends that are working through the Star Wars for the first time now. But, like, I felt honestly like they put Darth Maul at the end of Solo, and all he does is click his lightsaber on and off menacingly. And I really felt like they just put that in so that they could say, like, oh yeah, there's a lightsaber in this one too.
Yeah, I mean, that seemed out of place if you're not watching all the back stuff about Darth Maul.
Yeah, it came absolutely out of left field. And so I don't know what this guy's deal is. What's his name? Gus.
The one thing that I do agree, again, it feels like they just put it in to have it in there. The one way I think it actually sort of ties, and if I'm remembering right from some of the Clone Wars I saw, the dark sabers were originally like a Mandalorian device used to fight the Jedi. So at least there's some callback to it, because I think the main bad guy has some tie to like the Mandalorian massacre. But I could be reaching.
Yeah, I really have to get in and like I should watch Clone Wars. Maybe I'll do that since I've got Disney Plus for another month. Maybe I'll dive into like Clone Wars and Rebels.
I watched a season and a half of Clone Wars, and it was good. The problem with Clone Wars is it's a kid show, so there's a lot of filler.
Yeah.
I just wish there was essential like plot points, like things that are relevant to later stuff that you could watch that condenses it, because it's like 5 seasons, and I think each season is like 20 episodes.
Oh,
it's just long, and not every episode's great.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I think I would resubscribe to Disney Plus for a month. Like it's $7, so you're essentially paying $7 for like one season of a TV show. So like I'd wait, let the season come out, subscribe for a month, watch it, cancel again. Like $7 for a season's not that bad.
So Christian recently watched Little Women. Now this movie has been nominated for 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, Leading Actress, Supporting Actress, Costume Design, Original Score, and Adapted Screenplay. Christian, did you like this one?
This movie was great. This movie was a masterpiece.
So I know absolutely nothing about this movie. I was told it's based, I don't know, loosely or very closely to a book written in the 1800s. What is the premise of this?
There's a couple plots going on. Like it's about 4 sisters. They're the Little Women, and they each kind of have their own plot. There's two separate timelines going on. There's one when they're kids, and then there's one 7 years later when they've all gone their separate ways. And so when they're kids, there's really just one story, and it's about how they're just kind of making their way in Civil War era Massachusetts while their dad is off fighting for the Union, and their neighbor is like ultra wealthy, and so that creates drama and tension about like, oh, one of us should marry him and secure our like financial future and stuff. And then in the 7-year forward timeline, it's just about where they are in their relative lives and like what hardships and things they're having to deal with in their own lives.
So do you know who stars as the sisters?
Yeah, so the oldest is Meg, that's Emma Watson. Then Joe is Saoirse Ronan. The third one, Amy, is Florence Pugh, and the youngest one, Beth, is Eliza Scanlon, who I don't think I've seen in anything else. The other 3 are pretty big names. Their mother is played by Laura Dern, and their mean aunt is Meryl Streep.
So, as I briefly mentioned, 2 of these actresses have been nominated for Oscars. Do you know which 2 it was, and then who do you think has done the best job in their role?
Yes, Florence Pugh is nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and Saoirse Ronan is nominated for Best Actress. Honestly, let me even just pull up the list of the other people who are nominated for Best Actress.
I got it right here if you want it.
Here it is. Honestly, we've got the woman from Harriet, Cynthia Erivo. You've got Scarlett Johansson, Marriage Story, Charlize Theron in Bombshell, Renee Zellweger and Judy up against Saoirse Ronan for Best Actress. She deserves it. Like, I've honestly at this point seen none of the other 4 movies on that list, but Saoirse Ronan deserves it. Like, her performance in this movie was unreal.
So she plays the main sister. What is that sister's storyline?
So she's like the main protagonist. She's the second oldest, but her story is she's just like a writer and a playwright, and she moves to New York and is determined to make her own way without needing to have a marriage to anyone. And so she spurns Timothy Chalamet, who is the rich neighbor who's in love with her, and she just moves to New York to kind of do her own thing and make her way. And then she's brought home when one of her sisters gets sick.
And then what is the storyline for the other three sisters? Are they as prominent as her storyline?
Amy is probably the second most prominent. That's Florence Pugh. She moves to Paris with Meryl Streep and strikes up a romance there, and so she has a kind of parallel story going on. The other two aren't as heavily featured. Emma Watson's character is married to a poor tutor, and so her story is mostly just about her and her kids and struggling with being on the brink of poverty. And then Beth is the one who stays home, and she's like the nice sister. They all have their quirks, but Beth is like the good pure one, and she stays home and helps her mom and like helps feed the poor and the homeless.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you enjoyed this. No, I guess number one, going into it, were you expecting to like it? And then number two, what made you like it so much?
I wasn't really sure what to expect. I'm not always a big fan of period pieces, which this certainly is. But I liked most of the people in it. I like Laura Dern, I like Meryl Streep, and I obviously really like Saoirse Ronan and Emma Watson, and Florence Pugh is growing on me, though I haven't seen her in very much yet. I'm never gonna watch Midsommar ever. Bob Odenkirk plays the dad, which was shocking to me because I've never seen him in anything even resembling a serious role. But there he was all of a sudden. But I mean,
oh really?
Yes. But I really can't say enough about this. The story was compelling in a way I didn't expect it to be. Everybody that was in it was on top of their game, especially the four sisters. They were really bringing it. The music was incredible. The cinematography was incredible. I honestly, I can't wait to watch it again. Like, honestly, it's funny. It's funnier than I expected it to be. Like, I really expected this to be a fairly serious movie, and I was laughing a bit. Like, there's this ridiculous scene when they're kids and they're all dressed up and pretending to be in a play that Joe has written, and they like the two of the sisters have big pipes in their mouths and they like knock them together like they're toasting with them, and it was just a fun movie.
So you're clearly a fan. Do you know how this is faring with the critics?
It's faring really well. Like it got the best it got the best picture nomination, and the critics seem to reflect that. The Rotten Tomatoes is at a 95%, audience is at a 92%. I'm right up there with them. Like 95 sounds perfect.
Yeah, and what actually surprises me about this is the budget was $40 million. Box office, they've made $86.6 million domestically and $130.9 million worldwide. Period pieces like this, even if they're acclaimed, I don't usually think they succeed like this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a full cast, so I don't know if that's what brought it in or if it's just word of mouth. But yeah, they made double their budget back just in the U.S. and well more than that overseas. So it was a big release for them.
So I think I know the answer to this one, but would you recommend our audience check this out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'd recommend it to everyone. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, and I came out of it raving. Even with like when I watched it, our theater had like technical difficulties, and I still walked out of it very pleased.
And finally, this week, we're going to discuss briefly the Oscar nominations and if we think anyone was snubbed. Now, Christian, I think these Oscars are pretty concentrated on 9 movies. The Best Picture nominees were Ford vs. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. And if you break these down, by total nominations between categories, there is 122, I think, total nominations. And these 9 movies account for, I think it was either between 68 and like 72. So more than 50% of the nominations are in these 9 movies. So they really have dominated this, especially taking into account 10 to 20 of the 120 or odd actual nominations include documentaries, shorts, live action shorts, and animated movies and music. Like these movies dominated the Oscars this year, at least for nominations.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that only like 15 movies came out in 2019.
Right. And it's weird. When these were coming out, I was not expecting Joker to have as much popularity going into the Oscars as I thought it, or as it is now.
11.
Grant, I haven't seen it.
11 nominations for that turd of a movie.
Yeah, so they have a Joker has 11, 1917 has 11, Ford vs Ferrari has 4, The Irishman only has 9, Jojo Rabbit 6, Little Women 6, Marriage Story 6, and then Parasite 6.
So few movies came out this year that Scarlett Johansson is nominated for 2 different awards.
Best actress and best supporting actress, right? Marriage Story came out of nowhere, honestly, Christian. I'm gonna have to watch it because it's on Netflix, so it's easy to watch. It must be good. I'm really surprised to see it up there.
Yeah, I've heard ups and downs about it. It's like I had never heard about it until all of a sudden it was there. Like it came out and everyone went crazy over it, but there seemed to be no build up to it. Like I didn't see anything. I didn't see any previews for it even on Netflix. Maybe I just wasn't on Netflix that much in the lead up to it, but yeah, all of a sudden it was all over the place on Twitter, and it just kind of blindsided me.
Another surprise for me too was Jojo Rabbit. I remember that being in theaters and thinking, "Oh, I should go check this out." I did not know it was like an Oscar contender.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from that either.
Actually, same with Ford vs Ferrari. I'm surprised it's on there too. It seems like the internet saying Uncut Gems got screwed out of a nomination.
Yeah, I wish our theater would have gotten that. I was really interested to see it. And I mean, we both watched Ford vs Ferrari. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it was going to be an Academy Award contender.
Same, like, I will say, I did not think it would be Best Picture. I thought Christian Bale was amazing in it. I thought he actually might get a nod for leading actor, but he didn't.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I walked out of Little Women and I thought to myself, like, this is going to be a nominee for Best Picture, absolutely. I was sure 1917 was going to be, just because, you know, that's how it works. But yeah, walking out of Ford versus Ferrari, I thought, like, that was good, but never in my wildest dreams did I think it would be a Best Picture nominee.
Right. So, do you think anyone got snubbed?
Well, yes. So, Little Women has all these nominees, or has all these nominations for all these various categories. We got 2 actresses in it, but like, Greta Gerwig crushed the direction on this. Like, this movie would not have been as good as it was without her at the helm. And I mean, she already has an Academy Award for
Lady Bird, right?
She already has an Academy Award for Lady Bird, so it's not like she's some like outsider that they didn't want to deal with. But I was astounded that she didn't get a nominee for this.
Yeah. So our goal for people listening is to end up trying to watch as many of these Best Pictures as we can, because they're actually pretty easy to watch this year. Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Joker, you can definitely rent. Little Women is still in theater as of this week, so is 1917. Marriage Story and The Irishman are both on Netflix. Jojo Rabbit, I think you might be able to rent that, but I'm not sure. And then Ford vs Ferrari is kind of in no man's
Jojo
land.
Rabbit's kind of in Twilight Zone right now. Like, it was in theaters back in November, I think it was. And so it's kind of bounced back out as part of the like Academy Award nominee run. I know it's in a theater not far from where I am right now. But I don't know. Unless it's been re-released in a theater near you, you may have some trouble finding that one.
Right. But at least like 7 of the 9 you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, and
so we're going to try and hit
I
that.
had kind of come to peace with the fact that I probably was not going to watch Irishman or Marriage Story just because sometimes it's hard for me to force myself to push the button on these, even if they seem interesting to me. But now that they're on this list, I'm going to have to.
Yeah, I forced myself to watch Irishman last week, and I don't want to get fully into the story because we're going to do an episode on these, but it was good. And it's one of those where I have a hard time recommending people watch movies over 2 hours, and this was 3.5. But it was good if you like those types of movies. Like put it into two settings, I guess. But man, it reminded me a lot of like the Goodfellas or something. Like like you know what you're getting into with it. While good, it does seem a little bit like a rehash for Scorsese.
Yeah, like for sure. There was no world where I was gonna just sit down and watch The Irishman. Like that's gonna be, I think, 3 viewings minimum.
I thought too, man. I ended up just powering through because I wanted to get it over with.
Enough.
It was like it was last Thursday for me or something. But yeah, we'll get onto our predictions at a later episode. The other one, the Two Popes, also is streaming on, I think, Netflix. So a lot of the Oscars this year you can see relatively easily.
Yeah,
Currently.
and I mean, just briefly back onto like surprises and letdowns. Like we got Todd Phillips is nominated for Joker for Best Director. Get him off that list and throw Greta Gerwig on there. It's crazy. He gave an interview where he was complaining about how hard it was to make movies like the movie he wanted to make when and casually forgot that Heath Ledger literally won an Oscar for playing that character like 10 years ago.
So I'm going to have to watch Joker before I talk about it. I don't think the character works well alone. I feel like you need Batman there, but who knows? I'll save my full judgment on it. It does definitely seem like the black sheep of these nominations to me, and I'm going to be so mad if the Joker is finally the comic book movie that wins Best Picture, because there are so many good comic book movies, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Joker is not probably the best comic book movie.
I mean, yeah, I have strong opinions on the Joker. I intentionally didn't talk about it much on this podcast, but I mean, we can get into it a little bit when we do our full Oscars episode. The only other thing I wanted to say as far as snubs goes was Frozen 2 didn't get on the list for Best Animated Feature. And I get that like it's a sequel and Disney sequels aren't necessarily always viewed in the best light, but I think it at least deserved to be on the list.
Do you know who cleaned up on animated features is Netflix?
Yeah.
They have 2 of the 5 on, like 2 things they created of the 5 on there. But we talked about How to Train Your Dragon. That's on there.
I did really like that one, yeah. And I would be thrilled if that one, but Toy Story 4 is on there too. So the competition a few years back between Toy Story 3 and How to Train Your Dragon 1 was the reason that I finally went like full hate mode on the Toy Story franchise. So I'm not exactly looking forward to how that's going to shake out this year. Missing Link is on there, which I didn't get to see, but I think that's the one that won the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature, and it's a Laika movie, and I really, really like Laika movies, so I'm going to try and find that one at some point as well before the Oscars actually happen.
I actually don't remember Missing Link at all. So one movie that I'm surprised has not had more buzz on this, it has only been nominated for one thing in cinematography, was The Lighthouse. I really wanted to see this one, but I remember when it came out, there was a lot of chatter on the internet about it getting some Oscar nods, and it only got one.
Yeah, it did seem like I watched the preview, and it did seem like it was kind of award bait, and they didn't bite.
One other film that I'm really surprised about, I thought it would also get more than the single nod it did for Best Original Screenplay, was Knives Out.
Oh yeah. That movie deserved to be on a bunch of these lists for sure. I think Rian Johnson deserved to be on there for Best Director. I thought Daniel Craig probably deserved to be on there for Best Actor.
Yeah, I would at least put him supporting actor. I cannot remember the girl who was the main lead. I thought
Anna
she was
de Armas,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I put her as best actress or
Nominate
not,
that whole
but
cast.
I
Who cares?
that movie, I really think that movie should have had more nominations than it
Yeah.
does. All right, guys, thanks for listening to our episode. Before we head out, Christian, what are you going to be checking out this week?
I'm gonna be trying to do a couple things. I keep promising I'm gonna watch Witcher, and I think this is the week. I think this is gonna be it. I got real sucked into the first and second seasons of You on Netflix, which I'm definitely gonna be talking about next week. Because oh boy, I'm fully making a commitment, and I'm picking the movie for this week to be the movie Velocipaster on Amazon Prime. And just to get a little bit hyped for next week's episode, I'm gonna read the synopsis that Prime has listed for this movie. After losing his parents, a priest travels to China, where he inherits a mysterious ability that allows him to turn into a dinosaur. At first horrified by this new power, a prostitute convinces him to use it to fight crime and ninjas. It has
my
4
gosh.
stars.
Is this like an intentional B movie, or is this like an
I have
international
no
movie?
idea. It's an hour and 10 minutes. It's got 4 out of 5 stars on Prime. Like, I haven't been this excited to watch a movie in I don't know how long.
All right, man, we'll have to check it out. That sounds great.
Otherwise, not much.
So I'll be pretty preoccupied this week. If I get a chance to do anything, I'll probably play some video games. Currently still going through the Division 2. I actually made a lot of headway. I'm almost done with the main story, and then I started looking into the requirements for the Platinum, and it's a lot. This might be one that I don't Platinum and just do a review on, because it's wearing out its welcome, and it's 100 gigabyte size, so it takes up a fourth of my PlayStation hard drive capacity, which is really annoying. I've slowly been working through Yakuza 0 still, which I love. I picked up the game A Hat in Time, which is a 3D platformer that's pretty awesome so far. I actually think it's way better than Yooka-Laylee. They're kind of in the same vein. And then I also started playing Bloodborne. I've always wanted to beat that. I've done Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and then did Dark Souls 3 last year. I've tried twice to get into Bloodborne and couldn't do it. I feel like after beating those games, now is the time for me to do it. It seems like the one I should be into most, because it's like Lovecraftian horror, like Victorian England style setting. I love the setting. I just, for whatever reason, the previous times I could not do it. So there will be that, and then continuing along with Oscar nominations, definitely will be watching Marriage Story at some point, because it is free. Well, it's on Netflix, and then I will be running Joker at some point, just because it has so many nominations.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for listening to our episode. If you would like to contact us, you can email us. We're gambots.blog@gmail.com. You can reach us on Twitter also. We're at Gambots Network. Otherwise, we've started posting our old episodes on YouTube if you want to check them out there. And we've started doing 200-word reviews on Medium that we usually post to our Twitter, so you can find some reviews that we talk about on the show and a few that we've not actually talked about on the show. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.